Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Support Black Theater Company Info Session. My name is Lonnie Woods III. I know some of these faces and names here. Today is going to be a great conversation where we'll learn more about Support Black Theater. And I want you to feel free to ask questions, whether those questions are in the chat or later on we'll have a true Q&A for you to ask questions live. Feel free to, it's a casual discussion. The whole purpose of this series is to really help to expose, or I didn't want to use the word expose, but to give exposure to arts organizations doing really cool things in and around LA. And it's hosted by the Center for Life and Work, for those of you who don't know, which is our career center here at Cal Arts. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce Sofina Brown. Sofina has been a professional actor since moving to New York after the University of Michigan's BFA theater program. After working on Broadway and national tours for several years, she transitioned to LA to pursue a career in television, yet continued to remain passionately committed to the theater. She is also the founder and executive director of Support Black Theater, which is a service organization dedicated to capacity building Black theaters, developing Black artists, and nurturing Black audiences through and around LA. So I want to welcome Sofina to the stage to tell us a little bit more about SBT.
Yes, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Lonnie. I guess I'll just talk a little bit about what happened prior to forming Support Black Theater, but I also want to just give a shout out to Jasmine Barrett, who is actually a Cal Arts alum and a member of Support Black Theater. Actually, we have a lot of folks within the SBT group that graduated from Cal Arts. So Cal Arts is very near and dear to the heart of SBT. But I'll just start by saying, in terms of the trajectory that I had, Lonnie did talk a little bit about that geographically, going from Michigan to New York and New York to Los Angeles. But I'll say I started professionally acting as straight out of college and realized pretty quickly that the types of opportunities that I was getting were a bit limited. When I got to Los Angeles, I was lucky enough to land some lucrative roles that actually allowed me to only be an actor when I got here, and to kind of continue along the trajectory of opportunities in television. But I still wanted to see change, not only in the landscape of television, but also the landscape of theater. And one of the things that I started doing, where I added that first hyphen, that first little dash, was started producing theater in Los Angeles with the intention of being very focused about creating opportunities for other Black artists. And so that began around 2016. And I started realizing that my experience as a producer was really informing me in a much different way than I ever expected it to. I started learning more about how the systems were at play and how systems worked, largely in predominantly white institutions. And sometimes that was even in things like rights houses, just in acquiring rights to a Black narrative as a Black producer through Samuel French, which is now Concord Theatricals, or, dramatists. It's like, it was so hard for me as a Black producer to tell a Black story. And that was because oftentimes there was more emphasis and weight put on revenue. And so I was producing in smaller theaters in Los Angeles. And I'll just say, if I wasn't able to necessarily be in a house that seated, 400 or 600 people each performance, I was knocked down, and it didn't matter that I was actually one of the only, at that time, female Black producers in Los Angeles trying to tell Black narratives, produce Black narratives. And so I was like, this is insane to me. And I wanted to do something about it, not just out of a kind of selfish ambition, but from the standpoint of really wanting to bring progress and change to the community as a whole. And so around this time, I was also given a copy of August Wilson's The Ground on Which I Stand. And I was like, I read it, and then I right away reread it. And I was completely blown away. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about, you know? And that led to me gathering a bunch of Black artists in February of 2020 in the Matrix Theater in West Hollywood to talk about the state of Black theater as we have experienced it. And it was out of that conversation, out of my experiences as an actress and as a producer, that Support Black Theater was born. And Support Black Theater, we are a nonprofit service organization that is focused and dedicated to capacity building Black institutions, developing Black artists and Black work, and cultivating and nurturing Black audiences here in Los Angeles. So we're really still in our infancy. We started programming because of COVID and everything. Even though we formed early 2020, we didn't even start programming, or really even launch publicly, I should say. We didn't launch publicly until the very end, December of 2020. And then we didn't do any like full on programming until 2021. And just to give you just some brief like numbers, just because I know a lot of times people, you know, in terms of measuring impact, we kind of go to statistics, even though it's really hard to measure things like empathy and growth in certain ways. I will just throw out that we have had such a wonderful success in terms of the impact that we've been able to have in the community thus far, even with us being as young as we are. We serve about 6,000, I would say is even a low number, but about 6,000 duplicated artists per month. So through our website, which is a resource for so many things, whether you're an individual artist looking for grant opportunities or scholarships, whether you're an organization, you know, doing the same, whether you want to find community, if you want to find a local calendar, because you're like, I want to support Black theater, I just don't know where it is or when it's happening. We have all of that listed on our website. And we're continuing to build out things like our directory of behind the scenes, like behind the, what we call beyond the stage talent. So if you're looking for Black directors, Black costumers, Black set designers, you know, Black vocal coaches or acting coaches, we have a listing that continues to grow as community members add to it. But we really just want to be a resource for Black artists and Black institutions and other institutions as well when they're looking for Black talent and to hire Black talent. So that being said, you know, we're able to serve that way, but also through promoting the Black shows that are going on in Los Angeles. And our social media platforms do a really focused, dedicated job in promoting everything that, you know, would be listed under the umbrella of Black theater. And not only that, but through our different programs, such as our EQUIP program, which is all about capacity building, we are able to offer nonprofit management training, grant education, classes and workshops dealing with specific technical types of training for artists. And just through our EQUIP program alone, the nonprofit management and grant education, since we started that program, which is under a year, the local Black organizations have actually been rewarded close to $500,000 because of the grants that they were able to write as a direct result of taking our grant education courses and nonprofit management courses. So we're extremely proud of that, because there's a tendency to be a lot of information gaps when it comes to Black institutions getting the help and resources that they need. And sometimes I can tell you, even as a nonprofit leader myself, sometimes I don't even know the questions to ask. And so that's where our EQUIP program really tries to come in and fill in and bring in culturally specific experts to teach and instruct and guide. And it's been really, really successful. Other things that we do that are part of our DNA that are so central and key to what it is that we're doing at large is that every single component, every piece of programming, everything that we do is all about establishing a Black ecosystem in Los Angeles. And so when we are producing any kind of event, it's not just about creating the art itself or highlighting the art itself. It's really about building these bridges throughout our community and inviting Black-owned businesses, inviting other Black nonprofits in, shining light on the incredible work that's happening in Los Angeles, in the Black community, and generating cultural capital, and really creating this full, thriving ecosystem that has theater and service at the heart of every single thing that we do. So that's a little bit about SBT. I can talk more about specific programming and things of that nature, things that are coming up, but I kind of just want to start there because I feel like I've been talking a lot and I just want to pause to see where you want the conversation to go, Lonnie.
Yeah, no, we love it. We love it. You haven't been talking long enough. So what I'm interested about, being as though, you know, we're at Cal Arts, this is a art school, and we have students who are studying acting that may be here or alums. What was that transition? And I know you've been able to maintain your career as now the leader of this organization and producing and things like that. What was the first step for you? And I don't like the term work-life balance because I don't think that's real in the arts. I don't think it's real in general, but how have you kind of merged those two worlds and created a life for yourself that feels, you know, fulfilling, you know, so taking, you know, roles and maybe auditioning, I assume, as well as running an organization?
Yeah, Giles and I actually were just talking about this, you know, just those particular periods of time where you feel like you're at maximum capacity. And there are days, being completely honest, you know, I am an actress, and you know, SBT is also a large part of my life. However, I'm also a wife, I'm also a mom, I'm also, you know, there are different hats that I wear, and it can be a struggle. However, I will also say that there really is never a line of like, there's no delineation at the same time, because I really believe that everything is service, right? Everything that we do as an artist, and I believe as like a human, you know, is about having impact on other people. And so I think that even though there's an aspect where I could say to get through certain pockets of a day, I may compartmentalize, for the most part, it all falls under this, like, I don't want to get too woo-woo. I can't see Abby, Jasmine, or BK, but I'm just going to let Jen, I know you from before, but I'm just going to say, for me, like, the most amazing thing about being an artist is the possibility that exists with every single interaction, production, or event, to have that potential that brings forth like healing and transformation. That's why we do what we do, right? And so everything to me, everything, when I say there's no delineation, it's like, it's all ministry. It's all like having like impact on another human heart. And whether that's being a wife, whether that's being a mom, whether that's being an actress, whether that's being a producer, at the end of the day, the goal is the same.
I love that. I love that. Jaws, I wanted to turn it over to you just to see if you would like to talk a little bit about your journey being a Cal Arts student and then transitioning into where you are now in your career and how SBT kind of fits into that and your role.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Josman Barrett. I go by Jaws, and I graduated Cal Arts, the MFA class of 2012. They're building my set right behind me. I'm gonna ask them to stop me real quick.
I love it. He showed us he's like in the theater right now. This is a real working artist.
Yeah.
I love
He's
it.
directing Anna in the Tropics.
Yeah, so sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, so I'm currently directing a play and in the Tropics, and I'm also acting and producing another play that goes up the very next week called Yellow Man. Let me take this into the lobby and let's walk and talk at the same time. Okay, so I graduated Cal Arts, like I said, MFA class 2012, and I say we, me and a couple other colleagues in my class, we founded this organization called The Collective, which is it was definitely a struggle at Cal Arts, as all of you know it is. I mean, it's hard to get anything done because your time is limited, resources are limited. And there's only so many people who are going to be as adamant and passionate about you as the things that you want to do. So we started the collective out of a need to kind of produce work for the culture. When we started going around campus, we were trying to find the BSU, and we eventually found that there was a BSU on paper, but they were more like an entity for running just clubs, organizations, and here like welcome events. They weren't doing anything as far as a producing entity, which is one of the reasons why we started the collective in 2011 under the guidance of Denise Woods, who is a voice coach for the Stars right now. So the first year it was a producing hub just for theater students. Then we got linked up with the late James Avery, who played Uncle Phil in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And he kind of mentored and guided us for the next year and a half, and then pushed us into making the collective an interdisciplinary organization where we were embracing Black students of all métiers and finding a way not only to just do things in our own respective art disciplines, but find a way to make them interdisciplinary, having events that encompass music, dance, visual arts, theater, all in one, and it really pushes to our limits. One of the pillars in the foundation that we built the collective on is being a bridge from the college to the professional world, to cater to the actors, to the artists, to give them the preparation it takes and is needed to thrive as an artist outside of the bubble that is Cal Arts. So a lot of our work was, again, number one, self-produced. We funded a lot of it ourselves. We went to associated students a lot. We went to the student services. We went to every organization that we could on campus for funding. And we really were able to thrive. And a lot of the connections that got me the jobs that I have now were through connections built through the collective. So what I'm trying to say is the people that you are close to are your real resources while coming out of college. I started working in the CAP department as a student. For those who are not familiar, that's the Community Arts Partnership. And I was a program assistant, then turned to program director for programs under theater, dance, visual art, and film. So I got a job working as a staff member directly after my tenure as an MFA student. And I was supervising teachers in respective schools across Los Angeles County. After a while sitting at a desk and being a theater artist, I felt kind of stagnant, and I felt like I needed to move. And I felt if I spent all this money learning how to act, I don't want to do anything in life that doesn't have anything to do with acting. So I started teaching theater. I currently teach at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and I teach at Mount San Antonio College. I run my own community arts organization called Two Rhythms Theater, which is focused on telling the narratives of Black and Brown stories, especially Los Angeles based. And I reiterate that my network has gotten me pretty much everything that I have now and got me to the place where I can now not only provide work for myself, but provide work for others. So that's just a small bio on me and how I got here. But yeah, it was really started at Cal Arts, but it was a journey that I went on with a lot of my colleagues.
Yeah, that's great. And so to both of you, I'm curious, being as though you are working with emerging and established folks in theater in several different capacities, teachers, educators, actors, directors, I assume across the gamut, what are you seeing as some of the kind of pervasive challenges for those folks to get work and to get their work, either if they're a playwright, to get their work validated or funded? What are some of those things that you're seeing that you're able to solve through SBT in some ways? What are some of those, like, I want the undergrads to think about what those challenges might be before they start, before they graduate, because I find that oftentimes you get to your senior year and then you're scrambling and figuring it out. So I think the earlier we can tell them, you may run into this, you may run into that, make sure you have that. Yeah.
Jazz, do you want to take it? Because I know you're in a time crunch.
Can you repeat the last like 30 seconds, because my earbuds went out when you were describing what the question was?
Sure, yeah, I'll try to consolidate. What do you think are maybe like 2 or 3 things that current students who are in theater, especially Black students, should be thinking about that you see with your peers as challenges to break into the field or to create a career path?
Number one, build a lot of your own content. Start putting together your resume and stop waiting for other people to hire you. Oftentimes we are waiting in line in the same hamster wheel that everybody else is in. And it's well within our power to create the opportunities that we want for ourselves. When I was an undergrad at Cal State University, Northridge, I had done my 3rd play and I had yet to be a Black person. And so I wanted to do this play called Top Dog, Underdog by Susan Laurie Parks, was now up on Broadway, if you don't know. And it was just me and another friend from undergrad, and we said we were going to do the play. We found the resources, we found the director, and then we made it happen. Then the department got all excited and they said, hey, why don't you do it under our department and we'll give you the money to remount it. It was incumbent on ourselves to create the opportunities that we wanted. After that happened, the department, the student body started asking us, when's the next play? How can we get down? How can it be bigger? So we started something out of a need for ourselves that we realized that other people wanted to buy into. So taking the initiative is the number one thing I would say. Stop waiting for people to give you the opportunities and start figuring out how to create it yourselves. Stop thinking about how to get a paycheck as opposed to how to be the one writing the checks. And obviously there's steps toward that, but I would think anybody who is as ambitious to get a BFA or an MFA at Cal Arts thinks highly of their capabilities and is willing to invest on themselves. So a lot of the grind coming out of school is 100% you. Yeah, you're going to get an agent or a manager eventually, but nobody's going to look for work for you like you will look for work for you. So I would say if you don't know what it's like to do that yet, start now. Put together and go to the coffee house, book out the coffee house for a night and just put up a night of monologues and see what happens and see how easy it is to actually organize and then figure out how you do something that tops that in the next semester. And eventually it all becomes second nature. I never really wanted to produce. It just kind of fell in my lap. And the more I started talking to people and asking for things started coming my way. So I would say start somewhere, but start with you.
That's such good advice, because I always tell students that they ask for resources and websites, and we have that. But I think a lot of times, if you have enough, I always believe that if you have enough vision to think that something's missing, then you have enough capability to create it. And sometimes we're waiting for someone else to sort of like facilitate something that's in our head the way that, and no one will be able to. And so I love that advice. I love that
Yeah.
advice. And create your resume. You create your resume from things that you've done and tried.
And just to end on that, I would say, don't get swayed by hearing no, because you'll hear no a lot, even from the people who think they're going to support you the most. And it's not because they have any malice against you. Maybe we're artists, we're booked too. When we really launched the Black Artists Collective, we were doing something called August Wilson's King Hedley II. And we went to the associate department chair, which was Nataki Garrett, who now runs the Oregon Shakespeare Company or Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And we asked her to direct the project because she's a phenomenal director. And she told us, unfortunately, that she was booked for the next 2 years, which is kind of disheartening because we're like, you're the Black director here on this campus. Then we asked the next person, they couldn't make time for us. So we're like, you know what, we'll just direct it ourselves. And we were so adamant about putting the project together that people went and looked for a director for us, which got us hooked up with James Avery, Uncle Phil. He ended up falling in our lap because we were persistent on making the project happen with or without anybody else. So you put in that work and you show that determination, and that will be recognized by others and people will want to help you.
And I'll just add to that. Really, I hope that everyone who's here and who's not here, understand when I say use Support Black Theater as a resource. Like, that's what we're here for. We are a service organization, and we want to know how to be of greater service, specifically to students. And everything that Jaws was talking about, I just have to illustrate that point. Recently, someone reached out to me blindly. He's an NYU student, but he's in LA doing an internship at Focus Features. And he was like, I heard about your organization. I love your mission. Can we Zoom? And I was like, absolutely. And I met him and we struck up this conversation. He told me what he was interested in and the type of support that he was looking for. And I was like, oh my goodness, well, we have an event coming up. You know, he's interested, he's an actor, but he's also a director and a playwright. And I said, we have an event coming up in November where we're workshopping a play. The play is written by Nicole Salter. It's being directed by Deshawn K. Terry. And the artists involved are Donlyn Gardner, Candice Renee, and Tony Pasquale. All of these people are multi-hyphenates. Deshawn, is on the morning show, but he also directs theater in LA, and he is an artistic director of his own company as well, and a member of SBT. Donlyn Gardner, if you watch Queen Sugar, she's Charlie on Queen Sugar. She's doing this workshop. I'm only saying this, I'm not name dropping by any means. I'm just saying, oh, amazing. Okay, so Deshawn, so this gentleman was like talking about, and I'm like, he reminded me of Deshawn, and I'm like, multi-hyphenate, like acts, directs, writes, all this stuff. And I'm like, you should be in the room, and it was easy as him. And now he's going to be doing an observership for this whole process and being in the room with Nicole Salter, who's an amazing playwright. I don't know if you're familiar. She's now the chair at Howard of the theater department there, but she is incredible. And this piece is phenomenal. And all he did, he just took a shot. You know what I mean? He emailed me and was like, this is what I need. Is there anything that SBT, and I'm like, absolutely. And it's the start of a relationship that I'm sure is going to have even further reaching tentacles, than just this one particular observership that he's doing with us now.
Absolutely. That's amazing. As somebody, one of you mentioned social capital earlier, and I think that is so important. And especially, Giles, to your point, I find that a lot of times students are looking for people who have quote unquote made it. And I always tell them that you're sitting in a classroom full of people who have made it and will continue to make it over and over and over again. So sometimes we look over our classmates and we look over our colleagues at other schools and people who are our age or a little younger, even MFAs looking to the BFAs and vice versa. You look around. I always say when I teach classes and workshops, look around. These are the stars. These are the people. These are the Issa Raes. Don't worry about Issa Rae right now. You can, but I think to your point, Giles, when you're so focused on people who aren't in front of you, you don't spend that time creating the work that you want to create, and you spend more time waiting for someone to notice you, as opposed to living in your purpose, just right there
Yep.
in the space. So I want to open it up for live questions. Does anyone have any questions about SBT or about anything that we've discussed, or maybe something that you were curious about? I did send out the bio and everything before, so I just wanted to open it up to questions that you can unmute, or you can type it in the chat. Any questions from BK, Abby, Jasmine, Jen?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to say, like, thank you for all this information. I didn't even know, Support Black Theater was a thing anywhere, and that it was something that, it was going to take all of us to create, and it was going to take years. So to hear that all this support is out there is phenomenal. While I do have some questions that'll probably boil up after this conversation, I also wanted to ask, is there an aspect of Support Black Theater that is also for film as well? Only because together with a lot of people of color friends of mine, we have created a teaser for a pilot, and we're in the stage where we're going to be looking for support. So yeah, I just wanted to know if you guys had any other resources for that side of the entertainment industry as well.
Yeah, I can say that as an organization, we do focus primarily on theater. However, every single person that is a part of Support Black Theater, they are in many different mediums, right? So I just want to piggyback and say everything that Lonnie and Giles are talking about, relationship is our greatest resource. It just is. And so all of the people in the room that are workshopping this particular play that I just talked about, we're all in television and film as well as theater. And you said Deshaun is your coach, so I know you know this, like, brother's all over the place, right? And
He literally is.
he's literally all over the place. I'll be like, what are you doing? He'll be like, oh, I'm directing this opera. And I'm like, what's happening, right? And so all of us have relationship and connections and different ways of being able to support even someone who's saying, like, I'm really trying to break into film. There's still a lot of value in the relationship and connections that you can find through Support Black Theater. Specifically, if you're talking about financial support, there are things that we list on our resource pages and through our social media platforms that do cross over beyond theater. But as an identity, we are mainly focused on theater. But I will let you in on a little secret that I don't share that often, but I'm getting better about being very succinct with it. I really believe that if our Black theaters become beacons of health and resiliency in our communities, where our people can not only come into a Black theater and find value in representation and in the narratives that are being expressed, us telling our stories, but also in training and employment. If we can create that type of hub and kind of like central meeting place of value within like Black theaters, I really believe that that is what is going to influence and change the landscape of television and film, particularly here in Los Angeles, because there's an entire Black workforce that is right in our backyards that film and television, they're not tapping into. And I think part of that is because the relationships and connections haven't been established. And hopefully we can work as an organization to create much more accessible pathways to that. Does that make sense?
That makes absolutely a lot of sense. I'm very happy to hear this. And one way or the other, I look forward to talking to both you and Jaws, and of course, Lonnie. I'm going to see you almost every day. But I hope to have a conversation with the both of you in a little bit more depth as time moves on.
That would be great. Literally don't hesitate to reach out. Like, I'm all about making time, honestly. So Lonnie will give you my, email. I mean, it's easy. It's Sophina@supportblacktheater.org. RE though, the theater is RE.
Got you. Thank you, Sophina. Appreciate it.
One thing that I think Cal Arts does really well in my 3 months here, I think it's good for Black students, but for all students, is that Cal Arts seems to really churn out multidisciplinary people who don't, like I met a Black student who is a music composition major who wants to do, who does film, right? Who does film, and I find that, especially as Black people, we are, I think by nature, just multi-hyphenate. Like these categories that this country has created for us, they don't ever make sense. So I want to tell anyone, if you feel like, I'm this, or I'm in this major, but I really want to be this. Like I studied photography and then I went to study higher ed, in grad school, and I write poetry, and we were typically multi-hyphenate people. So we have a question in the chat. So I just wanted to say that was my point, I guess, is that I feel like Cal Arts does a really good job of not making you feel like you have to be what your mate TA is, that you just be the artist that you need to be. And I think the more that you take Jaws' advice and just start creating the work, it'll feel better. So Jasmine asked a question that I think is a great question. I might be able to answer as well and hear your feedback. What internships do you recommend for getting into playwriting?
I know, you have to leave, right, Jaws?
Same,
Yeah,
thank you, everybody. Talk soon.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for joining.
thanks, Jaws.
Pleasure.
He put a great resource in the chat, but I would also ask Jasmine, when you say internships for playwriting, are you familiar with Alicia Harris? She's a Cal Arts graduate. And
I am not.
What'd you say?
I am not. I'm in the creative writing program, so I know very little about the theater program in general.
Okay. Well, I will say Alicia Harris came out of Cal Arts around the same time as Jaws, actually. She's a playwright who's been produced many times over now. Her plays include What to Send Up When It Goes Down. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But what I will say to this is I was actually talking to her about this very thing. And I was asking her, as a student at Cal Arts, what did you need? And as an emerging playwright, what support did you need coming out, being in this close to LA? Like, what support did you need to take you to the next step in your career? And one of the things that she said very adamantly was observerships, that a lot of times there's not a space carved out for a playwriting internship, but that observerships, just being in the room while playwrights are working on their craft or working on a play, workshopping, developing it, however, that it was extremely desired, and she couldn't find opportunities for it. And so that's something that we are designing actually as a large part of our 2023 plans, is creating lanes for observerships specifically for playwrights. The other thing is there was another artist who actually graduated from Cal Arts. I can't believe this is crazy. Her name, when she was attending Cal Arts, was Deanna Michelle. She now goes by Zola D. And she had a piece, which BK, I'm sure you're aware of this, being coached by Deshawn, that actually was produced here, called Gunshot Medley, American Saga, Gunshot Medley. And we talked about how, as a playwright, she really needed a space, not just to kind of, she was like saying, it's one thing to be able to read a small excerpt of my piece and get feedback, but she was like, I need a space to just be able to fall on my face, if that's what needs to happen, to be able to get my work up, or have actors say the words, but actually like not have it be a reading so much as a true like almost full production workshop, sort of, but like a space for that. And she was saying like it really would be beneficial. And so that's something that we're trying to work on as well. It's like carving out what that type of space would look like for our playwrights to be able to take their work beyond just a reading or beyond like a 1-week workshop, where it's not quite ready for a full production, but possibly some type of in-between stage. I don't know if this is answering your question exactly, but I also want to talk to you about another organization that's doing amazing things in our community called First 15. And that's an organization that was founded by Jamila, I'm blanking on her last name. Lonnie, if you find it, please, Jamila Webb. And they actually bring in writers that are currently working on television series, and they give writers an opportunity to share their work and get feedback, not just from the community, but from experts in the field that are currently working in television and film rooms. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so it took me a while to get it up, but that was very helpful. Thank you for the different links. I appreciate it. I'm trying to save them all on my phone.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Jasmine, are you interested in writing plays, or are you just curious about pathway, or both?
I am. I'm technically writing a play right now, so
Okay.
any any help would be very much appreciated.
Okay,
Okay.
you have my email, so
I'll make
we
sure
can
I
have a
send it.
conversation about that a little further if you want.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Safina as we wrap up? Any other questions? Abby, did you have a question? Jen?
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. Also, I'll turn on my video, but I look kind of crazy right now because I'm getting ready for a photo shoot. But I like, so hi, I'm Abby. Right now I'm MFA 1, interschool creative writing and film video. I've always been very interested in the intersection between creative writing, theater, and film. And I am currently like located in Santa Clarita, and it's my first month here. And so I was wondering if there's like virtual opportunities or ways to get involved, like maybe like asynchronously if I'm like not able to travel to downtown LA or LA area that often. So yeah.
When you say get involved, do you mean specifically in some of the things that Support Black Theater is doing as an organization, or do you mean things that are very specific to playwriting and creative writing around theater and film virtually?
Both.
Okay. Well, I will say, I don't know if you're free because it's soon, it's Sunday, but that organization that I was talking about with First 15, that's all virtual. They do those things virtually, and you can they have one on the 30th. They do one every month. There's one on the 30th. I don't know if Lonnie dropped the link, but no, okay. But they basically it's called First 15. It might be First 15 LA, but First 15. And you can RSVP, it's free, it's virtual, and you can kind of sit in and see what the process is. But I will tell you, like one of our members went for the first time last month, and she was like, Safina, I was so moved by what was being done in that virtual space for artists and for writers. She found it very, very moving. I'm going to the first one I'm actually attending is on Sunday. So I'm very excited about it. Oh yeah, there it is. So that's definitely virtual. We don't have quite as many events in terms of like what you're talking about as Support Black Theater, virtual events. I have been trying to move our programming to in-person because I will tell you, I had serious just Zoom gloom. I was just burnt out. And so I was trying to move a lot of our programming to in-person. However, there are going to be definitely it's just the world that we live in now, where things will be made available virtually as well. And even when we're in like a hybrid situation, but particularly for 2023, there's so much programming coming down the pike, and I'm staying in loop with Lonnie so that he can let you guys know about everything. And I'm available via email, or, if you want to reach out directly and say like, this is what I need. Do you have anything coming up? But I'm all about just like really look at our social media things, because we literally promote and publicize pretty much like as if we know about it, it goes up, so different workshops, it's like through our stories on Instagram and different posts, like we pretty much in the local calendar of events on our website, we really try to keep people abreast on everything that's happening in and through the community as much as we can.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm going to drop Safina's email in the chat in case anybody wants to follow up. Thank you for even offering that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Hi, everyone. I'm Dion. Sorry, I was late.
Oh,
I had class and a mentor meeting after, but I wanted to make sure I stopped in.
wow.
And I see you guys are recording.
Yes,
Okay. Can I get the recording?
yes, yes. We'll make it available on our YouTube channel on Cal Arts
Okay.
Center for Work and Life and Work.
Okay, okay. And I have the email and the links. So okay,
How are you though? Everything is good?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. MFA two actor, and I never wrote a play before, but aspiring playwright. Everything is good. This week was kind of shaky,
Oh, okay.
but you know, we're back.
Yes.
We're back.
You know,
Yeah.
we're not gonna stay down for long.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Ooh, it's good to see you. What can you tell me a little bit about that process? Because you're the second person. Because Safina and I have been talking about like a part of this is which I was going to point out to all the students and alums. You know, what are some needs that you all have on campus? And I'm hearing there's at least 2 people on here who want to write plays, who don't necessarily have the skill set, or something like that, and are looking. And I'm like, y'all got to find each other and write the plays. And figure,
Yeah.
you know, and so it sounds like that's something like playwrights and understanding that if you're not in the theater school, right? Is that something that you would say is like a missing skill set that you wish you had? What are some of those things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know there are institute courses, writing courses that we can take, and I planned on taking them this semester, but I don't know what happened. I don't know if the teachers like went on sabbatical, or I don't know, or if they're going to be next semester. But they were not available, or maybe I missed it. I don't know, but
It's good to know.
yeah.
Can I just say one thing about it's actually a question, it's not a statement. For everyone that's present, can you help me understand, is there a need for there to be greater access to the industry itself? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Speaking as a recent alumni who graduated during the pandemic, one of the things my classmates and I really tried to seek during our showcase was to find industry and break in and find a way like into the industry, because a lot of us already know that it's not just on the agents, it's not just on the managers, it's also about the events that you go to, the connections that you make, the people that you meet. Now, we had the handicap, of course, of being isolated, but even still post grad life, we really didn't have that support during that time, and even a little bit afterwards, considering the unquestionable circumstance that fell on us.
Yeah. Do you have any, like, Abby, Jasmine, BK, is it Dion? Am I saying it right? Okay. Do you have any suggestions on how, those of us who are working professionally in these mediums can offer support in this way? Like, what are some of the things that you would be looking for to connect you more directly to the industry?
I would say having events where we have an opportunity to meet. This past I think I want to say it was March or April, I had the opportunity to go to the Walter Cates Foundation Forum And it was a fantastic opportunity to just meet with different creators, meet with folks. I actually wound up getting a meeting with the general manager of All Black Television to talk about my show a while ago. And so, you know, I just made so many connections through there. And the whole time I was there, I was saying, like, this would be a fantastic opportunity for CalArtian actors to be a part of, especially when folks are looking to connect at an event such as that.
Okay. Abby, Jasmine, do you have any suggestions?
And BK, I'm sorry, before you go for it, BK, was that just a traditional networking event, would you say? Was it just pretty straightforward, just like walk into a room and people were just walking around, or was it more structured?
It was more structured. It was actually an exclusive event, and I just happened to make connections with I know her name is Angela Northingham, who is a part of the Walter Cates Foundation, and she extended an invitation to me to go there. So it was a kind of like a somewhat closed doors event, but the fact that people were still asking for, like, yeah, I would love to meet some more actors from around the LA area, especially actors of color. The amount of times that I heard that during that event was a lot.
Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing that BK said, like networking events, or maybe, you know, an invitation or something, and even honestly stuff like this. And I don't know if it would be like in the form of a class or workshop or something, but one thing that I feel like, if I'm just being honest, one thing that I do feel like is missing from the MFA acting program here, I just sometimes feel like I'm in this bubble here on campus. And I mean, I do think that the experiences and things that we are, you know, having to do and feeling and, you know, bringing up and all of that, I do think that's preparing me, and it's, I do feel myself evolving and growing within. However, I do want to know more about the business aspect of acting or being, yeah, the CalArts bubble is so real. And I don't know if it's because I'm older and I've been out in the real world before and I've lived multiple lives, but you know, yeah. And I just would like to know more about the business side of acting, or just, or even being a playwright, and just, you know, how to put yourself out there. And if you do have a play, like how to market it, or where should you send it to, or what should you even do after you get done with the piece or writing something, you know? And I'm also the type of person, I don't put all of my eggs in one basket. I'm not anticipating showcase. I'm not like, oh, showcase is gonna do this, or I'm gonna get that on that day. You know, I don't think like that. So yeah.
That is helpful.
That's real. That's real. So I'm hearing
I'm sorry, Lonnie, I just wanted to add that in real quick while it's on my brain, to add to what Dion was saying, coming from the program during that time, is that a lot of the time when we did get when we had those entrepreneurial type classes about, like, you know, what to do as an actor outside of it, was coming from folks who had already kind of gone through, they're well in age, I'll say it nicely like that. So we didn't really get any kind of perspective from folks who are maybe in the grind right now, folks who are just starting to move up, hearing their stories. We're hearing about how the process went in the past and not how it's going right now. I remember we had Don Cheadle speak to us in our class during the pandemic, and the question came up was, like, you know, what are some ways to come through the industry? And Don had mentioned, like, you know, I can't answer that question because the way that I did it is vastly different from how you guys have to do it now.
Yep.
That's so true. And even to add layers to that, when you're a Black or brown person there's another different type of rules and, you know, even the normal process. I often talk to white counterparts, professors who talk about entry into industry, but we live in a society where we have white supremacy, we have anti-Blackness around tools and structures. So even if Alani was the third who has an MFA from Cal Arts goes and does the same thing that white counterpart did, more than likely the social capital is different, the pathway is different. So that's why I'm really big on representation and teaching from that experience as well, not from a struggle experience, but just from a truth of the layers may be different and the levels may be different and our comfort level is different sometimes because it can be intimidating. It can be intimidating. Well, this has been great, and Dion, it was great to hear, that something like this is also part of what you want to see more. So that makes me feel really good because I thought so too, and I'm happy to hear that, you know. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say though, before we end, and I didn't want, if Abby or Jasmine wanted to add anything, I don't want to speak. If there's something that you guys wanted to add. No, okay. But what I wanted to say is, I don't know, there's the bubble that you're talking about that's kind of figurative. And then there's the one that's very literal where, you know, Jaz was explaining, it's like the university is like on a hill, it's like far kind of, you know, kind of to get to it and to, you know, for you guys to come in for certain events. However, for everyone who's on this Zoom, Jen, Abby, Jasmine, BK, Dion, Lonnie, I want to extend an invitation to our next event, which is on Sunday, November 6th. I'll give Lonnie all the information, but it is, BK, you probably already know about it because Deshawn is directing. It is this piece, and it's going to be a highly impactful event. And outside of it just being a play, it's a powerful community building event that happens post-play. And you know, we do have tickets that are being sold right now, but I would just want to extend the outcome. Every single person here, you get a fabulous meal from your choice of Black-owned restaurants. Like, it's all inclusive. We have, you know, Bloodsoes and Hot and Cool Cafe and Crenshaw Coffee with an unlimited espresso bar. And it's just it's going to be a beautiful time, a beautiful event. And there are going to be a lot of people that you were talking about wanting to network with or meet. People like Jen said, that's like the recent emerging story of, you know, artists who just came out of Cal Arts or just came out of USC or UCLA will be in the room. And so I just want to let everyone know that I would be thrilled for you to come as our guests. And, you know, I just want to invite you to that. And I'll keep inviting you to other things. If you can't make it to this one, there'll be more.
Absolutely. We'd love to be there. You said November 9th?
November 6th. And so I think if you go on our Instagram, you'll see, but I'll send you all of the information. But if you go on our Instagram, it's like our most recent, the last 3 posts that we did it's about that event.
Sounds like your Instagram is popping.
We try, you know.
I love that. Well, I want to give you a virtual round of applause. Thank you for taking your busy time out of your busy schedule to chat with us today. I'm excited about y'all. This is a partnership, right? SBT, they're a partner of ours, and we want to continue the conversation. And I really want y'all to think about what Jaz said, is that we as like, I don't want to say the adults, because y'all are adults too, but we can only do what we think and we're in our worlds. But the more we hear things like, oh, I want to write a play, but I'm a creative writing major, like that's the way we can learn and evolve and respond to, and I'm excited. And I hear networking event, and that's all right up my alley. So maybe there's an SBT X Cal Arts Black Creators networking thing or something that we can do. I will say to the Cal Arts bubble, I think for those of you who feel that, you're going to have to break it early. So start trying your best to find friends with cars or get into the city more, because that 2 or 4 years is going to go by really fast and nobody's going to come get you in Valencia. It's just the truth. I just moved from Valencia down into the city. I'm in the valley still, but no one's coming up there to get you and to bring you down. It's just not going to happen because it's so remote and it's just so, it kind of has everything you need and it kind of nestles you in that suburban vibe. So I would say, and if you have friends that have cars, you can talk to us up in the Center for Life and Work about transportation. Maybe there's something we can subsidize in some way. You know, we can do shuttles and stuff, but that's not always the most organic way to get to stuff. Like, I know there's the Metro Link and things like that I used to catch when I was living in Canyon Country, but think of those, even if you choose one event a month to just go into the city and push yourself out of that bubble, that's going to be something I think that's going to be integral for you. Speaking of virtual opportunities, not necessarily all within this realm, but I think some of this applies. Coming up for the Center of Life and Work, we do have Slice of Knowledge, which is not virtual, but that's for resumes and cover letters or CVs. If you want to come grab some pizza on November 3rd, our advisor, Sarah, will be hosting that. If you are undergrad, I don't know if I think everybody here is a grad student, but for those who are undergrads, we do have creating a compelling grad school application coming up also on November 3rd. REDCAT, so if you're interested in interdisciplinary theaters and art spaces, REDCAT Theater, which is a part of Cal Arts down in LA, they're doing a virtual company info session similar to this one. And this is huge because it's going to be both executive directors. So these are like the people at the top of REDCAT, so, as well as the VP of Cultural Partnerships. So this is going to be a great opportunity, I think, to talk to and continue to meet people and ask questions in a similar way. So that's on November 9th. So you can just go to compass.calarts.edu and you can RSVP for those. I would highly suggest if you're available. And that's it. Jen, I know you're here. Did you have anything to add? I didn't want to put you on the spot. But.
No, I think that covers it for us. Thank you so much, Safina, for your time. This has been really, really inspirational. And thank you, Lonnie, for organizing this. I'm very happy we were able to do this.
Thank you. Oh, and one last thing. Black Arts Collective, Dion, I know you were at that meeting. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you, everyone. Stop.